The other bigger, more structural, fundamental issue is there are many players working on embedded solutions in pockets. And it looks like, if you maybe zoomed out, it would look like a bunch of random scatter diagram dots. And what's going to ultimately help those dots get bigger is actually connecting the dots. There will need to be this cooperation, this coopetition, this connectivity in order for it to grow at a faster pace and to be scaled. Hi, I'm Rob Schimek. I am the CEO of bolttech, and this is the future of insurance.
Rob, very excited to sit down with you. This is tied to what's on the table in front of us, and I don't even know if that's going to be in the shot. And it wasn't your shoe, which is awesome, but it was. You can put them there. It's this book, Future of Insurance, Volume 4, which we have the pleasure of having you in and bolttech and hearing about the story and the journey. I want to get into all that really quickly, high level on you, and for those who don't know, what is bolttech?
Super. First of all, love the book, and thanks for having me. Love being a part of the book.
Excellent.
The bolttech organization is a brainchild that came out of what I've done historically in my career.
Yeah.
So I am a bean counter. I came out of Deloitte Touche. I was a partner in the accounting space, and I'm really a finance guy at heart.
Okay.
But I left that and came into the insurance industry serving AIG, and I did 12 years in a wonderfully crazy environment where you can learn everything, which is what I did at AIG. But I learned some things I wanted to copy and some things I didn't want to copy. And that's ultimately at the root of what bolttech is. And so we are the most scaled international business serving in the insurtech space, serving the distribution space of insurtech.
And when you talk about distribution, in particular, it's really embedded focused primarily, but not, is it exclusively embedded or is it broader than that? Is it more like platforms that allow for embedding and other ways of doing it?
It is very broad.
Yeah.
And even our definition of embedded insurance is broader than what most would say. But I'll start with, we have a great platform. It's all homegrown technology.
Yeah.
And we run something we refer to as an insurance exchange.
Okay.
It works like a stock exchange. It connects buyers and sellers of insurance. We can give instantaneous responses on quotes. For example, today, we quote about 25 homeowners insurance policies per minute, 60 minutes an hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So that gives you an idea of the scale, the depth and breadth of what this platform is capable of doing. And we're the connective tissue between insurance carriers, who are the ones ultimately taking the risk, and distribution partners, some of which are already in the insurance business, but some of which have never done insurance before, but have a customer that has a need, a protection need, and we're able to provide the solution that helps to bring that protection.
What kinds of things is it? Because you say distribution, I think a lot of people are like, oh, agent, broker, maybe bank assurance in some markets or an aggregator, but you mean that anywhere insurance could be sold, really. So what are some of the non-traditional insurance distribution points?
So a great example of non-traditional insurance is a real estate broker. Imagine buying your home here in America, and when you buy your home, you've got a broker who helped you with that transaction. What if at the very moment you're closing on that transaction, or somewhere close to the end of that process, the broker was able to say to you, oh, by the way, we can help you to make sure that you're getting homeowners insurance and choice for your homeowners insurance at the exact moment that you need it. And it provides a platform where you're gaining a greater degree of connection between the company and their customer base. So you have a greater interaction. You have a more loyal customer base because they actually feel like they've got something special out of you. And then also it kind of creates the ability for another revenue stream for companies. So you see them gravitating to opportunities where they can have a deeper relationship with the customer and generate more revenue.
You said something in that description where you said choice. And I think when people hear embedded, one of the arguments for it from the carrier standpoint is, then we cut off the choice moment and it's just us, right? It's unless we don't want the risk, it's just, there isn't even consideration of others. So you're talking about something that I think from a traditional carrier standpoint, we probably wouldn't define it that way. And there's other things, and this comes out in the story, where you're framing the idea of embedded from a very non-insurance as like the middle of that whole ecosystem or that whole process. It's more how can we add value to or enable the thing the person wanted, or the relationship of that company who's selling the core thing that we're then covering. That's very much a break from how we as an industry think of it. And I know you're originally an accountant, but you're an insurance guy too. How was that one of the things when you say the things I didn't want to replicate or I didn't want to bring forward was breaking with that mentality and that us centricity of it, part of the lessons?
It really is. When I came out of 12 years in the insurance industry, I walked away saying that the industry had one problem that they really had to figure out a way to overcome, and that is we can do everything ourselves. We can build everything ourselves. We can solve everything ourselves. There's no need to work with any other partner because if it's not a product that I'm selling that I created myself, it's not worth selling.
Yeah.
That's just the wrong mentality. Yeah. Because what we know for sure is the customer has needs that maybe can't be solved by any one party.
Yeah.
And so we're really big on this concept of the ecosystem. I've said before that when I went to grad school, we used this phrase, which is you've got to cooperate to graduate. And I feel like in this industry, we've got to cooperate to graduate. If we're going to ever move forward, you've got to understand that there is a real important need to work with other players and to integrate multiple solutions into something that is the best possible answer for the customer.
Yeah. Well, work with other players, I think, is how a lot of folks will define cooperate. Oh, we cooperate. We use lots of partners, whatever, but buying from is not the same as cooperating with. Right? It's more, you're talking about going beyond just buying from them or selling to them. You're talking more like collaborating.
Exactly. I mean, if you think about the range of ways that I mean that, I'll use one example, which is when we work with Progressive Insurance, and you think about Flow offering the auto and home bundle.
Yeah.
Progressive is really progressive in their way of thinking because the homeowner's insurance that you're getting in that frequently is not coming from, usually is not coming from Progressive itself. It's coming from some other carrier. The auto is, but they recognize that the customer needs both.
Yeah.
And if the customer can get delivered both without the customer ever having to leave Progressive and go to a competitor, then you're going to serve the customer better. You're going to have greater customer loyalty, greater customer retention, and greater customer penetration. And who wins? The customer wins, and our distribution partner wins. That's one example of working together. Another one is just when there's product and capability that really is too far out of your zone of real expertise. I mean, think about even what bolttech does. We are focused on distribution because we recognize that our area of expertise is not the underwriting. Someone's a great underwriter. There are many really awesome underwriters, and we should connect with them and use their core skills. And if everybody sort of uses their best skills, imagine what the world could be like, because we'd be bringing the best of everything and really solving for the customer. But again, one of the problems in the industry is that people are stuck with, boy, if it wasn't my idea and I didn't build it and it's not my product, then I'm not doing it. Well, then you're going to sub-optimize the answer for the customer.
Yeah. Well, so I agree with you. And I've been talking about embedded, as have a lot of us, the past year or so. And something's been keeping us from it sort of living up to all the reports that have been coming out about, by this date, embedded's going to be 70%, 80% of the market, whatever it is. Is it the attitude that you're talking about, or are there other things at play? Like, what's keeping embedded from crossing that threshold into actually being a major way that distribution is happening and not a single-digit percentage of it, or it's in travel insurance or phone coverage, or the typical examples people throw out? And you're talking about other things that are more like homeowners, like major line. But from being a smaller player or on smaller lines to being a true game changer, as it's been talked about.
I think there's two things that jump out at me as what are the root causes for why it doesn't move faster. By the way, it doesn't mean that it won't move. Frequently, even at bolttech, I think of it as we work with partners and we're always fast dancing. At Bolt, we're fast. But our partners aren't always fast. And so imagine the GIF that I would put together, which is us fast dancing with a slow dancing partner. That's a very strange picture. And so what we end up having to do is to figure out a way to make them dance a bit faster and we have to dance a bit slower. And so that finding this kind of sweet spot is very difficult to do. But I would say we're making progress on it, even as an industry. And so, but it does cause us to slow down to kind of meet the other parties at the place where they're comfortable dancing at. But I would say that there's really two elements that I think slow things down. One is this idea of DIY, do it yourself.
Yeah.
So there is this mentality of, I don't need to do anything with anyone else. I don't need to embed. I can actually build. You have this idea to embed. I can do it. The only problem is I'll do it in 2 years.
Yeah.
Or I'll do it when my budget allows. Or I'll do it. So that's one thing that slows it down. But the truth is, eventually, that will be broken through. The other bigger, more structural, fundamental issue is there are many players working on embedded solutions in pockets. One over here, one over here, one over here, one over here. And it looks like, if you maybe zoomed out, it would look like a bunch of random scatter diagram dots.
Subscale dots.
Subscale dots. Yeah. And what's going to ultimately help those dots get bigger is actually connecting the dots.
Yeah.
So what if my embedded solution could be connected to someone else's embedded solution, and we could connect that into someone else's solution, because I don't have to do it all myself. When you're out there trying to create the entire embedded solution by yourself, you're going to die of old age trying to get that done.
Yeah.
And when everyone's doing it by themselves, it's all subscale.
Yeah.
There will need to be this cooperation, this co-opetition, this connectivity in order for it to grow at a faster pace and to be scaled.
This is hitting me hard right now. I'm thinking it's like a solar system within a galaxy. It's like you're zoomed in at the wrong level.
Yeah.
There's a bigger thing. Or it's like, if you're in the valley of two local maxima, this is getting to statistics, but you're only going to optimize for one of those two, but you won't see the global maxima. And the global max is the customer. It's like, so you solve for their phone coverage and their internet, whatever coverage, like some product there, but you're missing that they own a home, they own a car, they have lives, they have children, they have health needs. Like, that's what the customer is maximizing for, optimizing for. And you'll never see that if you're just like, we have our little connection points. It's getting to the customer centricity, isn't it?
It really is. And think about it with the big phrase of go big or go home.
Yeah.
If we're going to do this, you have to think big, big, big picture, because the picture is so much bigger than any one of these simple embedded solutions that we hear about. And the opportunity, if you just went to the customer, when you look at the entire picture, the universe from the view of the customer, it's so much bigger. And there's so much more opportunity. But again, each one of us is operating in a slightly different, unique, bespoke spot.
Well, so I was going to ask you about, like, what's the future look like? So give us all of your strategic plans. But is it this sort of like, how do we get to that global view of there's an ultimate buyer of a lot of things, not just insurance, and in that universe of all the things that they need, services, products, whatever, they also need to be cared for and covered. Is it like thinking about how we connect all of the possible dots and the dots we can't even imagine?
I love that you said that, because I think so frequently we only think of it in the context of insurance.
Yeah.
We actually use a phrase in bolttech, we say protection and insurance.
Yeah.
Because we're intentionally saying we're connecting you with something else you need, and it might not actually be insurance. It might actually just be some other need of the customer that we're ignoring because we want to define things our way. Everyone says the power of, it is insurance.
Yeah.
Think bigger. Think of it from the perspective of the customer. I love the way you said that. The customer's got a life, they've got a health, they've got a family, they have vehicles, they have a home, they have wealth, they have all of these things. And there is opportunities in all of those spaces, but we keep defining it in these self-fulfilling, very narrow little buckets.
Yeah.
And saying that that's where the future is. The future is going to be when we all get bold enough to zoom out and think even bigger about the holistic experience of the customer, but truly put the customer at the center of that universe.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, and you're blowing my mind, which is which is, it makes my job hard. That was going to be the last thing I was going to ask you, but I'm going to tag something on. I don't know if you're comfortable answering this, so tell me no if you want. I can see some investors, VCs, whatever, being like, oh, then you should be Amazon, because it's not just insurance. You should be selling them everything and connect every purchase. Do you see that as the path, or do you believe that that's fine, they need something to sell them everything, but we still have a specific purpose in their life around insurance and protection, or protection and insurance? Or is it, as you start to think about connecting all these dots, does the product itself end up going away and it is the connective layer?
No, the book is entitled The Future of Insurance.
Yeah.
So there's an element of this that is insurance.
Yeah.
And that's pretty broad. And it can even be the future of protection and insurance.
Which is, it's a very broad topic.
But,
yeah.
And as you think about that from the perspective you just gave, and then there's so many other things, but that's not going to be solved, let's say, by those of us here in the insurance industry.
Yeah.
But what could really make that happen is platforms.
Yeah.
If you think about what we're trying to do inside of bolttech, we're not always trying to be the ones who it's my product, my capability.
Yeah.
What I really want to do is create the rails on which the trains can run, and you can build your train any way you want.
Yeah.
You can run it anywhere that you want. Just tell us where you want it to go. But it's really this connective tissue. And so I think it can connect insurance to the non-insurance world. We won't, inside of the insurance industry, have to solve all of the non-insurance pieces, but someone's got to solve making sure that you create rails that can carry insurance and non-insurance kind of capabilities.
You are blowing my mind, and so I am going to stop there because I could just keep going, but this is fantastic and super interesting. Congratulations on all that you've achieved from the lessons that you learned that you brought into your own business and what you're enabling, because it does sound like, as we think about those barriers, you're working on the unlocks so that the possibility could be there, and that's really important, so thank you.
Yeah. It's a great pleasure to be here. Thanks for having us in the book, which we really appreciate, and I can't wait to see the future of insurance.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob.